What's up, and welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How is your day?
How was your week?
How is your life?
Going. And before we get started, make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. When you guys go to our website, you'll see all the ways you can follow us. The best thing you can do is share this with somebody else. Subscribe. Well, you guys, if you're listening, you're probably subscribed. If you're not, I don't know why you're not. Go do that. That'll help us out. Give us a like, a comment, all that stuff. And share it with somebody else.
That good stuff.
Yep. What's happening, babe?
I am chilling.
Yeah. Been in chill mode.
I really have. And yeah, I just noticed some things about me. So when was it? It was Friday. There was career day.
Yeah. Yeah, and you killed it.
At our children's school, Joey's school. And I ran into the principal. Yeah. And he looked at me and he's like, "This is your last year." And I looked at him and I'm like, "It is." Yeah.
He's in 6th grade. Middle school next year. Dude, it's so crazy. Oh. You know, like, oh, man. So I went to
Can you lower me down a little bit? I feel like I'm yelling.
Yeah. So, is that better?
Yes. Ooh, that was loud.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, so I went to the grand opening for our gym because it moved, right?
Are you not going to let me finish?
What I was going to say real quick, it has to do with this. But there's a guy in our gym that just had a baby, you know? And I was just like, today, I was sitting on the mat and I thought about it, but I didn't say it. Because at a certain point, it's like, you don't want to be that fucking person all the time, always fucking dropping knowledge everywhere you... It's like, I'm sure he already knows. But I want to tell everybody to cherish those moments, you know? Yeah. Because they go by so fast. Like, before you know it, they're freaking big.
So... No, if you feel called to share, there's a reason why you're feeling called to share.
I know.
Because they may not know. They may not.
No, well, and that's the thing, is that they do. They're not like that. That's why I did it. You know? If they did it, if maybe they seemed like they needed to hear that, maybe I would have said it. But I know who they are. And I know they're loving all of it.
It would also be good for them to hear it as well. Like, I just feel like if we're called to share something, it's because we're called to share it, right? You don't just, an idea just doesn't pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, okay. All right, whatever.
He's learning. Okay.
I'm just like moving on to the next thing. It's not that serious.
It's not, but it's just becoming aware. That's all.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, that morning, I came into the office and just did some meditating, like just meditated and got into the zone. And yeah, just to connect to that space within me, my higher self. And there was nothing just planned. Like, when it comes to, it's like, just give me what it is that you, and I'm talking, to God, I'm talking to me, I'm, just fill me with what it is that you want me to share with them. Like the kids.
Okay.
Right? So I don't plan like, oh, I'm going to talk to them about this. I'm going to talk to them about that. Not only that, but you get different levels. You get, like, I had a 2nd grade class. I had 2 3rd grade classes, and then I had a 6th grade class. So the way I, speak to the 6th graders is going to be totally different than how I speak to the second graders. Yeah. And so just being in that state of mind, in that space, I, get up there and just talking to them and really feeling the connection, right? Like, I had their full on attention. They were with me. They were present.
Yeah.
They weren't messing around. Like, I had their attention 100%. Them interacting with me when I asked questions, just all of that. And I remember it was the first class, which was 3rd graders. And I'm just talking to them about the importance of like their thoughts and breaking it down to just asking them, do you remember when you were 3 or 4 years old?
Yeah.
How many of you wanted to be Cinderella? How many of you wanted to be Spider-Man? How many of you believed 100% that you were Spider-Man? Like no one could tell you any different. Like, you know, they believed so much in themselves. And I asked one of them, how many of you, any of you wanted to be a singer? And a little girl raises her hand. And I said, will you like to come up to the front and sing for us? And she said, no. And I walked up to her and I said, why not? She's like, I'm scared. So I pulled her up with me to the front. I'm like, can you share with your classmates what you just shared with me? And I said, how many of you have felt this fear?
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was a little girl and she was just like bawling. And when I was done, the teacher, like I went and I spoke with her and just, she was crying so much that she really couldn't speak, right?
Yeah.
Like she's like, right? And I didn't
She was like hyperventilating.
Yeah, like I didn't feel when I went to speak with her after, I didn't feel like there was something within her, like pain. It was more of like she's understanding.
Yeah, she could relate to what you were talking about.
Yes, yes. And afterwards, the teacher left with the kids and she came back. And she's like, I just want you to know that you made the biggest impression on these kids. Compared to every other person that they've seen, you had their attention. And I knew it because I could feel it. I knew it. And it was like that with every one of them.
That's
and
awesome.
Joey's class was the last class.
Yeah.
And they were the older kids. So it was
cool.
fun because I could get into it a little deeper because they're older. So they understand.
Yeah.
And at that age, they're already going through shit.
Right.
Right?
They've been picked on. They've had some experiences.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They've had to overcome things.
Mm-hmm. After the class, like I had a lot of them coming up to me. But Joey came up to me and he's like, good job, Mom. Like, you did really good.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, because when I got home from work yesterday, that was like the first thing he said. As soon as I walked through the door, he said something like, Mom was awesome today in career day. He's like, everybody loved her. Yeah.
And that's like just feeling so fulfilled doing that.
That's so
like,
cool.
And that's just another confirmation for me that I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like feeling 100% aligned with my journey and with my purpose. And I had a client on Friday from 1 to 3 and speaking to her, she shared a story with me. So she's a thinker.
Yeah.
Right? It seems like a lot of my clients right now are thinkers, not feelers, but they had to be that in order to get them where they are today.
Yeah.
And there's this practice that I gave her during meditation for her to put her hands on her heart. And there's this song that I gave her. It's You Are Love. And I have her connecting to that deep part of her. And she is so aware now. Like when we're speaking, she's like, I think, and immediately she's like, I feel, right? And she just immediately goes within. And when she came to me in January, started working with her January, and it was so hard for her to make eye contact with me.
Yeah.
Right? For us just to stare into each other and for me to speak to her in that depth, it made her feel very vulnerable and very uncomfortable. So we went and we kind of, we figured out why that is. And she's doing so good now. Like she's able to just allow herself to be seen.
Yeah.
And she shared with me that this past, I don't know when it was, but she shared with me, because it's been a week, so shared with me that she did that exercise with her older son that is our age. And it's so funny because he owns this restaurant. And so it was at his restaurant.
Yeah.
And she's talking to him, and he sees like she's up to something. He's like, "Mom, don't be weird." Right? Yeah. Like he's like, "I don't know what you're about to do right now."
Yeah.
You know, but it's so funny because she told me that she just looked at him like deep into his soul, like through his eyes, and like put her hand on his heart and just shared her love for him.
Yeah.
Like piercing his soul. And she said, and he opened up. He felt it.
Yeah.
And I allowed him to see me and me to see him. And seeing her, when she was sharing that story with me, seeing the breakthrough within her, because that was very hard for her to do. And now what she experienced, she's sharing.
Yeah.
And she's never done that with her son, to be that vulnerable. Son, I'm so proud of you. Like, I love you, but getting deep into it. Not just saying, I love you, but sharing her heart with him.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, when you invested in my coaching, it wasn't just for you. It's for your entire family. Everything you're learning, like you're becoming that. And it's pouring into everyone around you.
No.
And she thought about it, and she's like, yeah, I see that. But a lot of times, like, it's like you have to point out, like her goal was to be with me to release trauma, pain that she's been through, right? And she's been to therapy before, but she's like, you're different. She's like, this is very different. But her whole purpose was to come into contact with her spirit, her soul, the stillness within.
Yeah.
Right? To figure out who she is.
Yeah, to be present.
Right. And I had to put things together for her. Like, what do you think because she's like, can I just get to like, can I just get to connecting to my spirit? Can I just do that kind of deal, right?
So there was a time that's like, I don't know how, but it's related. There was this time that we were, I think we were just kind of talking about stuff. Kind of like about this kind of stuff. And it was quiet for a moment. And that was like when I was like, what was that?
Oh, yes, I remember. Yep, I remember.
And in a way, if you're asking, you're missing the point. You know?
Yeah, it's feeling it. Like just being in that moment.
It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just being there. Yeah. Yeah.
You like, can we just get there?
Right.
It's like, we're here.
Yes. Like seriously. And it's so funny because I'm sitting, but you have to connect the dots for some people, especially thinkers.
Yeah.
That are not used to just feeling, tapping into the love, like just everything, that quiet space. I'm like, I talk to her. It's so funny. So I'm like connecting the dots for her. When we meditate, when we go through that, I said, when you first walk in my door, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Frazzled. She's just coming from work. You know, she's an occupational therapist. She's just coming from work and from a long drive. Yeah. So she comes in, she walks through our front door. She's frazzled.
Yeah.
And she can't stop talking. Like she's blah, blah, right? Like I can feel her energy. Like she's way up there.
Yeah. Okay.
So as soon as I bring her into my office, you can see now that she kind of just like she just centers as soon as she walks through. But I still take her through the form of meditating and tapping into her higher self. And I ask her, I said, how do you feel after meditation and even during meditation. That there is connecting to your higher self, you connecting to spirit. That's where it lies. Every time you have a breakthrough and you're emotionally drained, you're releasing what you've been holding on to. How do you feel after that? Lighter. Drained, but lighter.
Yeah.
When I ask her questions,
you're in the moment, right?
Yeah.
That is so crazy.
And then I ask her questions. I'll ask her a question. God, I don't remember. It just happened on Friday. I asked her a question, and the first thing she's like, oh, I don't remember what it was, but it was like I asked her a question, and she immediately answered from spirit.
Okay.
And I said, that's the voice. That's your conscious. That's your higher self. That's your spirit. That's God. That's it. Right there. There's no thinking. Like it's just immediately. And it's always correct. Always correct. Every time. Always correct. Yeah.
Always?
Always correct.
Always?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know, babe. Not all, babe. You're telling me that every decision, it's like right now. Let's go. Always correct.
I can't explain.
You know what I mean?
It's not.
Because
it's not a question. Hold on. It's not a question that has to do.
Maybe
with,
I'm missing it.
You are missing it. That's why I wish I could remember the question, because it's always a question that you can say, I don't know.
Is it
like
these
it's
types
like,
of
what
questions?
do I? It's like a spirit. It's. I can't.
It's like these type. It's a certain type of question though that whenever you have those, it's your first instinct usually is correct, or whatever you're feeling in that moment is usually correct when it's this type of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's more on the spiritual side. It's not like,
it's one of those.
Oh, what am I going to do? You know, like, what am I going to do? What's going to be my next occupation? Boom. Like, it's not, I don't know. It's not that type of question. It's more of a knowing within.
Right.
But it's just hard to explain because I can't think of the question.
Could it even be like getting a feel for a person, like whether they're good or and it's like even though you can be deceived, but.
Yeah. And the reason why I know it's right.
Yeah.
She asks me a question. I have her sit in that and direct the question back to her.
To try to figure it out.
And she comes up with the answer. And she's like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like she's telling me, not me telling her.
Yeah,
she's telling me.
She's figuring. Yeah.
That's it.
You're doing, like you're helping her figure it out for herself. Right.
Right. Like the answers are within her.
You're guiding her. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
to find
that's why I say
her
I'm
own
like,
answers.
I'm like, when you go to the concert and there's the little lights, you know, the people like showing you where to drive, where to park. That's what I do. I show them within. It's like everything is here within you.
It's funny that you say that because that's what Bruce Lee's, that one phrase. I don't even think that it's like something that people say. It's just something that stuck out to me when I listened to the book, but when he said that he was merely a signpost for a traveler who's lost, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're just helping her along her journey,
yeah.
right? And earlier you were also talking about how like when she first shows up, she's all frazzled, and then she has to kind of take this moment to kind of center herself and be in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. It's crazy, like this whole martial arts thing. Earlier today, I was talking to you about how, do we have one of those giant crane flies that go after your throat?
No, my plants are looking sad.
Oh.
Like it's warm in here. Something. Okay.
But I was talking to you earlier today, and this all kind of goes together with that, about like we need to get kind of back on. Like, you know, like lately you said you've been kind of just feeling real chill.
Yeah.
I've been kind of chill too, like letting into like eating whatever and just kind of hanging out, not really doing much. But it does feel like, all right, it's time to like get back on it. Cause I got back on it for a little bit and then it was like, all right, it's time to chill again. So, but now it's like, it's all right, let's get on a streak for a little while, you know, let's do some things. And I was telling you that I want to look for a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yes.
And I was telling you also that it feels like this time as opposed to last time, because I've had a time before where I wasn't really into it. I wasn't really doing stuff. And I signed up for a tournament to get myself into it. And I didn't, and I just didn't put the effort in. And then things didn't go well. But I feel now I'm at a point with jiu-jitsu where it's difficult no matter what. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I can think through things more.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it's not as hard. And I've been talking to Joey about that too. It's like there's times where instead of feeling like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, it's like, what do I do? What do I do in this position? Where do I want to get to? How do I get there? You know, and it's just like thinking through little by little. This, okay, they're smashed. Okay, I got to get this first. Protect, like get the pressure off of my face, off of my neck, push on their face, make them uncomfortable, you know, or whatever. But it's going from the, oh shit, is that being frazzled, right? Yes. When you're driving in traffic on your way over here after work. Yeah. It's when somebody's cutting you off and you're trying to merge in and then it's like, when you can think about what's about to happen, it's kind of like more when you're just in the moment. And then when you get into like that flow thing, it's a little bit, that's a martial arts thing that's a little bit more different. I don't know. And that happens in life too.
Yes.
Oh, you can hit it singing. You can hit it in a comedy set. You can hit it.
And the more
coaching,
the more
you hit it in a fucking speech while we were eating the other day with the kids.
The more you practice, I was just sharing this today. Like the more you practice meditating, it's like your body recognizes or becomes, I don't know, like at peace where you're just living that.
Yeah.
And I feel it.
Yeah.
Because people will describe me as calm or peaceful. That was not me. Like, who would describe me as calm and peaceful?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's funny.
And that's how people describe my like energy is that. But I feel it. I feel more calm.
You are.
Even my breathing is slower. I feel that I can get, like, I am that state of peace.
Yeah.
To where I don't always have to meditate because I walk in that space.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
But
and it doesn't take, like, you can get into a deeper place if you do sit down.
Right.
But you're always at a certain level of awareness at all times.
Yeah.
Even though at times, like, you can get on social media and then before you know it, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, but for the most part, like, you are aware of.
I am so aware of who I am today. I am so aware, like, even when I get into that space, right? In my thoughts, my head, I listen and I just tune in. Like, I know that I need to meditate. I need to release what I'm feeling, not run from it, but feel it and release it and let go of it. But even these days, I mean, we went to the 50 Cent concert.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel the need to drink. Like, I just have not been in that space where I want to drink because it takes me out of the space of where I really feel whole. Like, I feel I don't want to be out of this synchronicity.
Yeah.
Of being connected to my higher self. And I noticed that even like caffeine, it's something that I just don't feel. I don't want it. I like the thought of it.
Yeah. You've said that.
Right? Because you and
like it's like a bonding thing, right?
Yeah. You know,
like we could sit down in the front in our chairs and have coffee.
Yeah. And I feel it because today I asked you for, like, I've been having energy drinks, which has that caffeine boost, right?
Yeah.
I don't need a lot to get that caffeine boost, but I feel disconnected during that time. Like, not in that
you're altered
zone.
Right? You feel maybe a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
It's like something's off a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I was talking to our niece today.
Before we get into that, because that I just wanted to talk about, like, you were talking about your client, and you were saying also how she was doing something with her son. And that's not the first time that's happened, you know, with one of your clients, where you have your client coaching with you, but it also starts to rub off on the rest of the family, on the kids. I mean, even at your last retreat, you had somebody that went just to the retreat. As far as a client goes, that's all they did, right? They didn't hire you as a coach, but just from going to that retreat changed her relationship with her daughter.
Yes.
Right?
Priceless. Yes.
And you have a retreat coming up.
Yes.
Right? And if you guys want to get a hold of Sonja, you can call her at 602-633-5658. You guys have a couple spots left, right?
Yes, we have 3 spots
left. Yeah, there's not many spots. The last retreat was awesome. This one's going to be awesome too. Yes. It's going to be May
17th through the 19th in Pine Top, Arizona.
All right, cool. And if you want to, get a gifting session with Sonja, she'll she can do a gifting session with you. And
give me a call, or you can email me at healinghearts@soniaramirez.com.
Yep.
Thanks, babe.
And while we're at it, might as well go to oppositesattractpodcast.com. When you guys go to our website, you'll see all the ways that you can support the show. And at the top of the website is all the ways that you can follow us. And you can just search Opposites Attract Podcast on any of the social media apps, on YouTube, Facebook. You can watch the podcast and you can listen to it everywhere else. And like we said before, the best thing that you can do is just share this with somebody else. Let them know that the podcast exists. Follow our clips channel on YouTube, Opposites Attract Podcast Clips, and you can share it with somebody. We post short clips on there all the time. And
Yes. By the way, I need to send that link to
like
BNS.
and subscribe to all that stuff.
Yes, do all of that. And you can also help out the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod and purchase us a virtual drink. And you can subscribe to that on a monthly basis as well.
Yep.
Yes. What? What?
No, I feel like I was forgetting something.
Fighting for your life.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are, Miguel has this new podcast, and he's been...
Yeah, it's called Fighting for Your Life. I'm going to be working on the newest episode. We just got done. We were talking about the tournament that we had for Veterans Breakthrough. Make sure you guys follow Veterans Breakthrough and Rejuve Gen. And man, speaking of all that stuff, my podcast, Fighting for Your Life, Fight Life Pod on all the different social medias. Make sure you guys follow. Just like this podcast, you can watch it on Facebook and YouTube. Fighting for Your Life podcast. But man, today we went to a grand opening for our coach, and it was, dude, it's so cool. Like, just seeing I don't know, it's hard to explain, but just seeing everybody there together, throwing
Dude,
down,
it's the community,
beating the shit out of everybody.
It's just a family.
And just seeing all the different gyms, and now because Coach is opening up a bigger place, you have people flying in from different places, and you have other gyms that are from around the city that we compete with at tournaments sometimes, but it's just because we compete doesn't mean we can't, when we slap and bump and it's time to compete in a tournament, then it is what it is. But when we're not competing, all right, we can be friends.
Even after, yes.
We're still friends while we're beating the shit out of each other.
Right.
So yeah. But it was awesome to be able to hang out with everybody and get some rolls in.
Yes. So I was talking to my niece about before that, this past Wednesday, I went and did a Facebook Live for Rejuve Gen.
Rejuve Gen, yep.
And I want to give them a shout out, Eric Vogt.
Yeah.
He a really good friend. And yeah, he just opened up this healing center or recovery center.
Yeah.
And he has infrared sauna. He has cold plunging. He has all these amazing gadgets.
He's got the two different types of saunas.
Yeah.
He's got cold plunges, like you said. He's got a hot tub. He's got like the compression therapy things where like the boots or
I should have brought his flyer.
It's not like a boot.
It's
like a whole thing that you wrap around your legs and it compresses your legs. Also, I mean, he's got a bunch of other stuff too.
And he's located in Chandler, Arizona.
Yeah, if you can look up Rejuve Gen. He's also on Instagram, and it's right next door. I mean, they have a door in between the two places, but Rick Centron Jiu-Jitsu in Chandler, they're neighbors. Yeah.
Yes.
And they work together on everything, and you were over there.
So it's a very, very good place. So if it's, something that you want to do and just chill or just go because you feel like your body's breaking down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, I was talking to our niece and we were talking about your purpose. Like she told me that someone had asked her, like, what does she feel her purpose is? And my niece is only 30 years old. And so many people feel that having a purpose has to be something grand, right? And I was telling her that everyone having a purpose could be as simple as being a great mother, like being a stay-at-home mother, to raise your children, to be the best that they can be so that they can fulfill whatever journey they're here to fulfill.
Yeah.
It could be being a loving, supportive, encouraging wife to her husband so that her husband can fulfill whatever his purpose is, whatever his journey is.
We were listening to something about the guy that might be running for vice president. Vivek, and he was talking about how he has young kids and like it's a sacrifice to run for president, and he had to sit down and talk with his wife, but it turned out that his wife was a throat surgeon during COVID.
Okay, yes, I remember.
And it was like, it seems like at this time they really need a skill that I'm gifted with, right?
Right.
And he kind of had to like...
She just had a baby.
Yeah, she had just had the baby during COVID.
Yes.
And I think it was like the baby, I think he said was like 3 weeks old.
Yeah. Like she was sending him, like leaving him
and
breast
she was
milk
like, I
for him
have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was sending him breast milk and he pretty much raised the baby for the first, I don't know how many months while she was doing
saving
surgeries.
Lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and you were saying it doesn't have to be something grand. That's pretty grand. But, like that is just like something that she felt called to do.
Yes. And like I shared with her, I'm like, I had no idea. I remember feeling that though. Like all my friends, like some of my friends were doing this, some of my friends were doing that. And I didn't know what my purpose was. I just knew I needed to make some money,
Yeah.
and had plenty of experiences of trying different things, building a business, closing that business, building a business, closing that business, building a business, closing that business. And then in 2023, July 2023, created the LLC for Healing Hearts Coaching.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of my journey. And the biggest purpose for me is to live my life by leading and being like love, showing people how to love themselves and how to love others. Like, that's what I feel I'm here to do. And that doesn't have to be that grand. It's just me being that person. Like when I shared my document with our son, Joey.
Yeah.
And I'm reading it to him and he said, Mom, you are, I can't remember his exact words, but he pretty much told me, Mom, that is who you are.
You're already that.
Right.
Yeah. He already sees you that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pouring my love into those that are around me and being a coach, teaching and just teaching everyone what I have learned.
Yeah. You know, like, and I always talk about like how times change, right? And how there's impacts for things. Mm-hmm. People weren't thinking about this stuff as much, I don't think, before. About being, well, I don't know. It's hard to say. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say, but it doesn't seem like it. Like there's something else happening right now with like a wave of different like consciousness and it's all adding up. Yes. You know what I mean?
Oh,
but,
I do.
But this is the other side of it. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, last year in July, you filed for that LLC, which is when the business started, which is kind of like right now you're getting to that, you're fulfilling your purpose. Like you've been doing this for a long time, but right now it's like the focus is now this. I
mean, I just created my LLC, but I've been mentoring.
Right. You've always been
a long time.
You've always had this gift. You've always developed and worked on, you know, your connection with people and stuff like that. But now we actually started a business. And now we're working, and you're still working towards your purpose.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think like with our niece, she's 30 and feels like I should already have my purpose down and like going.
Right.
But part of it is because we're all so much more aware of all these fucking things. Mm-hmm. Where sometimes you just have to be for a while.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh,
boy,
I have a passion for this. Mm-hmm. And then follow that and see where it takes you.
Right.
Because, and this kind of gets into something that I was listening to in The Power of Now, is that when you're being and doing in the moment, mm-hmm. whatever you're doing comes out really well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you find your passion and find how to be in the moment doing that,
yes,
crazy things start happening.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of times when you're like,
when you say being in the moment, can you share or give an example for those that are listening? This
podcast is a great, like something like this is a great example, because if we were doing this from a place of trying to reach the masses and become giant influencers, like it has a different, you know, it's not authentic. The feeling is different. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. It's almost kind of like when you're chasing success, as opposed to attracting it. Do you know what I mean? Like you're chasing that.
What's the intention behind it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like, just do it. Do it for the love of it.
Right.
Not because you hope to do something with it. Do it for the love of it, and then hopefully you can do something with it.
Yeah.
But you have to find out what that is, and you can only do that by being in the moment, right?
Yep. And being grateful for where you are.
But
like now, like, you know, so many, like you hear it, like, I am so unhappy with my job. I am so unhappy with my job. Right. And it makes it even worse when you are constantly looking at the negative side of what takes place at your job, or having to wake up early, or the drive, the commute, the traffic, whatever it may be. When you first got that job, You were excited about it. You were excited that you were now able to make the payments, make the house payment, make the car payment, because maybe it took you a while to find a job, whatever it may be. But when you first got hired, you were so excited about that. Mm-hmm. And then you settle in and you forget. It's kind of like when a kid gets a new toy. Yeah. But, or I should say, and it could be you've been at that job for a very long time and it's time to move on. And what you're feeling, the suffering, the pain that you're feeling is your higher self, God, or whatever you believe in.
It's time for growth.
Yes. Yes.
There's something that you know you should be doing, or that is maybe scaring you a little bit, that maybe you need to commit to and go for.
Right. But in the meantime, why make yourself suffer? Yeah. Be aware. Like, you know what? There's something else for me. I know it. I feel it with every part of my being that there's something else for me. I'm still going to count my blessings or sit in gratitude for having this job, but I'm going to find out what is it that I really want to do. Like I'm going to live in that space and see what is it that I want to do and start working from there. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because then it will help you to not be depressed or dissatisfied, whatever it may be. It's just a knowing of, okay, it's time for me to move on. I'm grateful for where I am at. I'm grateful for this job. I'm grateful that I'm able to pay my bills. But there's something else out there for me. Yeah. And then start working in that space. And what is it?
You know, and this is something that I've always said, like maybe for some people, their purpose is their job. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need people for everything.
Right.
Like for a teacher, if your passion is teaching, then be the best teacher. But I've always thought that if you do have something on the side, spare time, anything, like you can be a great teacher and find a passion. Maybe you can teach teaching.
Yeah.
You know, like, but having something that challenges you always.
Yes.
There's just something about that. That's the purpose thing.
That's doing the
it's the
hard
growth.
thing. It's joy.
So even, it doesn't have to be your career. It could be your career. It could be like, I do the best job possible. I don't really want to change my career because outside of my career, I have the opportunity to do these things.
Right.
But when it's time to do these things, let's do these things. You know?
Yeah.
But it goes in, I think it goes in cycles. You know, like you were saying with the job. Because, everybody's excited in the very beginning, right? And then you start getting irritated when they start asking you to come in on the weekends and staying late. And then when you make plans and then you're asked or whatever. And sometimes, there are some things where you maybe do have. But the thing is that at the end of the day, you always, like, this is a game. And there are ways they've just figured out how to get you to play their game instead of you getting to play, getting them to play yours. Because there's other companies that do business with these giant corporations and they pay them tons of money.
Yeah.
Figure it out, right? So when you start feeling like it's always like that perspective shift, right? Like you said, being grateful that you can pay your bills, that you can feed your family.
Yeah.
You know?
That pours into everything. A lot of couples forget why they fall in love. And I don't think you fall in love. I mean, I think that's created. I mean, I think that
grow love.
Yeah. I mean, you really like the person.
Yeah.
A lot. Not
Yeah.
But like the love I have for you now is so much stronger than when we first got together.
Yeah.
Or even a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? Like the love just continues to grow the more we grow, the more our love starts to grow.
Yeah, and the more we do our thing. You know, I was thinking about yesterday, I put up a post about about Joey. Like when I came through the door, like I said, he was just like, Mom was awesome, you know? And I was like, dude, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking about the purpose thing, right? And like all the different things that you've done over the years since we've been together, and how now you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
And it's it's pretty awesome.
And you're witnessing it.
And part of that thought was that we've also created so much stuff over the years. Yeah. Just like out of nothing. Like just have, what about this? What about, it's like, fuck it, let's try it. Like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, we had the baby hats business.
Yeah.
You know, like we were always trying different stuff out.
And you have always been supportive of me, which allowed me to blossom.
Which has always brought us closer together too.
Yeah.
You know? Like
you've never stopped me from doing the thing that I want to do.
Yeah. Well, you see, when I love you a lot.
I love you too, baby.
I love you so much. I love you a lot.
I love you a lot.
But that's you know what? When we were talking about my beliefs, and because I believe things the way I do believe them, I also believe that people are like their own sacred beings. Mm-hmm. And they're allowed to go in whatever fucking direction they want to go in, because this is life. And whether I agree with it or not, it's not my fucking problem. And if it's a good thing, like the things that you want to do, and we're together, why not figure out how we can make them happen? You know?
A lot of times, the reason why in relationships there is not that support, it's because there's a fear within that individual. An insecurity. There's something within, because I know, because I was that.
You see, you have that connection thing, right? Where you have this natural connection to people. I've always had this ability to like tell, maybe, I don't know if it's like a leadership thing or not, but of like being supportive or like things like that, of being part of a team, or I've been good at that, you know?
Yeah.
But that's like a separate thing. You know, like there's things that sometimes people have to be taught, or you have to explain like why this is a thing. And it's like, it just feels like this is the right thing for me, you know? And when you say, I want to do this, it's like, all right, why not? Let's try it.
Right. See, and you were always that. And I undercover was not that. Right? Like when you started talking about I don't know, just it was your podcast or looking at starting a jiu-jitsu training, or right? And I recognized what that was bringing up within me. And the first thought that came to me that I did not share with you was, ooh, that's going to take time away from me.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, let's do this. It was like, that's going to take time away from me. How are you going to have time to do that? Right?
Yeah.
And I was aware of that feeling and the thoughts and everything that came up. And when I became aware of that, I realized how selfish I was being and the insecurity behind it. Like, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? And sitting with it, not ignoring it, not running away from it. It's running to it. Where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? Journaling it, meditating, allowing the answer to come forward. And I remember having a conversation with you on the bed. And I apologize to you. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
For being selfish with you. And you looked at me like, you were not that. And I said, shush.
Yeah.
You don't know my heart. You don't know the first thing that comes up within me as soon as you decide you want to do something different or add something to our lives. Because the first thing that comes up is, okay, this is taking time away from me. Right? And I had to share that with you. And the moment that I was brought awareness to it, and I cleaned up my mess by speaking and sharing that with you, because you didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was able to release it and let it go when I recognized where that was coming from, where that insecurity was coming from. And not only that, but forgiving myself.
Right.
And seeing the innocence behind it.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we also talk through a lot of things too, you know, because I also know in the time, like I also recognized it too, you know, like it is going to take, it would be too much like to do a podcast like this and that right now. So how could I maybe add a little bit more to my plate, but still be active, like actually creating and not just thinking about stuff, which a lot of people get into that. Like, it's just a thought. It's like, no, get it out there, do it actually, you know, but because time is limited, like you're saying, and I do want to be with my family, you know, because there has to be that balance. Yeah. It's like, all right, once a month, we can do that. I can add a little bit more and be working on my passion, and we can focus on what's also important is the family.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is why, like, when we were talking about before, when it comes to like purpose and like for some people, their career or whatever, like for me in my career, at one point, I wanted to be a manager because I wanted to take care of my people, like that leadership thing.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
But then I also started noticing that they're also there 14, 16 hours and crazy shit's happening. Like, it seems like maybe if I want to focus on my passions outside, maybe it's a little bit easier just to keep doing what I'm doing here and then focus more when I'm out, you know? Yeah. But there's still growth happening somewhere.
Right. Yeah. It's a journey. It's forever.
Yeah.
But it's so fun because you don't know what's coming next. I don't know what's coming next. Like, I don't know what the future looks like, but I know, like, there's a feeling within me that I know, man, it's going to be so beautiful. Though it is that now.
Right.
Right? Like, it is that right now. And when I had that scare of the negative mammogram, right? And taking myself through the death process, right? Like dying, like me literally like, okay, like facing it. Okay. As I had cancer, right. Or I have it. And really this was so powerful and so freeing. And I know some of you may be like, maybe it was because it came out that it wasn't true. But I literally took myself through the entire process emotionally, taking myself through it so much that even so, taking myself that, okay, like if that were to happen, I am so grateful to have lived 46 years. Right. I am so grateful that I got to experience unconditional love with my partner, right? And my kids and where we're at. Like, I'm so grateful because my children, my daughter, my sister didn't make it past the age of 34, and I'm here at 46 and got to experience so much of life already and taking it so far that my kids would be sad. Miguel would be sad. That makes me sad. But I know my husband, and I know that my husband will remarry a woman that's going to love my kids as much as I love my kids. Like, taking myself that far into it.
Yeah. You know, and that is that thought process, right? That mind, not thought process, but that mindset. But I'm sure there's also people that, do you think that they get that news and it's regret of all the things that they didn't see and all the things that they didn't do? And maybe like one of those things is like, oh, I never went to Egypt and I always wanted to go to Egypt. But then when you really think about it, there's people that live in Egypt. They see Egypt every day. Mm-hmm. Do you want to be one of those people? You know, like, life could be completely different, right? And you have a lot of things to be grateful for. You just have to have a difference in perspective.
Right. Because there's so much to be grateful for. Even
if you're somebody that lives in Egypt, you have things you can be grateful for.
Right.
Always.
Yeah. Always.
There's a lot of things that we talked about here recently that have to do with the power of now. And we've been talking about the power of now. And now we're getting to the freaking end of the podcast. But let's go through a couple things just because maybe try to get through some of this stuff. It was about chapter 5. Okay. I'm on chapter 5, 4 and 5. But it said one of the questions to ask to figure out your mental state. Am I at ease in this moment? What is going on inside? Inside me at this moment? You know, so like it's those questions like when you're getting flustered.
Yes.
When you're getting frazzled driving. You know, am I at ease in this moment? That's pretty easy to ask and to answer. When your kid does something and you've told them for the fucking 20th time and they do it for the 21st time, right?
Yes.
And it's like, am I at ease in this moment? Like, is it a big fucking deal?
Right.
It's really not. Moving on.
Right.
Like, why are you going to fuck up his day and you get all pissed off for something that really doesn't matter?
Why sweat the small stuff? And everything is small stuff.
Right? Complaining is non-acceptance of what is. Yeah. Right? Kind of like what we were talking about with work earlier. It is what it is, and there are things to be grateful for. You know, like when you first started that job.
Right.
Right? If you find your here and now intolerable, you have 3 options. Remove yourself from the situation, change it, or accept it totally. Right? If it's intolerable, you can remove yourself from that situation. You can change it or accept it totally.
Yeah. If you're in a bad relationship, and what I mean by that is like physically, you know, there's some things you know that it's not healthy. You can either accept it, change it, or remove yourself from it.
Yeah. Right.
Being in a career.
Right. Yeah, and you're feeling the stress, the pressure of being stagnant.
Yeah.
Something should be like, well, should you change your career? Should you look for a different position? Should you take a class? Well, I mean, it's something, maybe. I don't know. Are you stressed? Are you so busy trying to get to the future that the present is reduced to a means of getting there?
Yeah.
So are you stressed? Is what I wrote first, though. Right? Because if your bills are stressing you out, maybe it's because the bills have a due date. And that due date is coming. But in the moment, like in this very moment, that bill's not due. And maybe it is, and like it is what it is.
Right.
It doesn't change. Maybe you can do something, kind of like what we were talking about it. If that situation is not a good one, you can maybe do something about it, right? And that's doing something about it is probably, I love that option. Because I always feel like there's something you can do about most things.
What can I do right now?
Maybe something like cancer, like you were talking about, there's not something. But even with that,
your mind.
And you know what, man? Like I can't. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it because I don't have that experience. But I would like to think that you could even at least, like you said, the mindset, right?
Yeah. That's the way of mastery. That's self-mastery. We've talked about that. That's self-mastery. When the world feels like it's tumbling down and you're just like, you're just at peace. You see it.
Yeah. The next thing I wrote was stress is caused by being here and wanting to be there. Right?
Yeah, that's future. That's not, living in the present moment. That's future. Anxiety, stress, worry, that's all.
And that right there are the signs. The signs are easy to overlook because they're such a part of everyday living. The background static of perpetual discontent. Mm-hmm. The background static of perpetual discontent. That's if you're disconnected and life is just going by.
Yeah.
Everything is just static. And when something happens, it just happens. There is no yeah. The past cannot survive in your presence. It can only survive in your absence.
Of not being in the present moment.
Right. Like the traumas that you have and reactions that you would have because of that trauma. It's not like it goes away, right? I mean, not that the things that happen don't go away, right?
They heal.
They heal.
It doesn't affect you the way it used to affect you. It doesn't trigger you the way it used to trigger you.
And you would act unconsciously because of these things, and now you're aware of them.
Right.
And you can, this is what we're talking about. The way of mastery is when you can have these moments of clarity before you
respond, react, get into that dark place.
When you allow the things from your past or things that are not good for you to influence you to act a certain way.
So you were out of town. I don't remember when it was. Not that long ago, last month, whatever. And I shared on the podcast before when I would feel uncomfortable with you traveling because of my past traumas of, my daddy issues, right?
Right.
And that insecurity. And it happened last time you were on vacation, and it was so fast. The thought came in, the awareness came in, boom, it was gone. It was seconds.
Yeah.
And it was gone.
Yeah.
The awareness. So I almost feel like it does go away, but every once in a while, something will sneak in But when you're
But
so aware,
but mastery,
it doesn't linger.
But that's what mastery is.
Yes.
Right?
Self-awareness. It's knowing. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that was all from chapter 4. Then I started getting into chapter 5. And that was the Zen masters call Satori a flash of insight. And then that made me think of nature. Like being in nature, and then the wind hits you, and then you just like notice leaves going by and birds chirping, and then it's just like your brain stops working. You're just taking everything in, right? And that's what it seems like in Zen masters would call Satori, a flash of insight. It's no mind and all presence.
Yeah.
And you know, that made me on a tangent.
Yes.
On a tangent. This is not going where you think it's going.
No? Okay.
No, absolutely
How do you know what?
Absolutely not. All right.
How do you know what I'm thinking?
Because I think you think that we're in sync and we're not. Because this is something that I was thinking when I heard this, and I was thinking something else. I have been telling you about this book that I want you to listen to called 1986 by George Orwell. And I don't want to get into the whole thing, but it's a way of, it's kind of like government mind control, all this kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And this is something that's really cool because on this podcast, for the longest time, I've been trying to, like, we try to explain what this is, right? That moment. What is that moment of no mind? That moment of clarity, or like, what the hell? How did he freaking say it? Yeah, it's no mind and all presence, right? It's a flash of insight. And that's called Satori. And in this book, they were talking about how one of the ways that they would try to control people is by manipulating language and saying that you can't say certain things, you can't use certain words, but words have a definition. And it's hard to explain something when it doesn't have a definition. And now, like it was weird because I remember in that book, they could show you like exactly how, if you remove this word, it's hard to explain exactly how you've been taken advantage of or how your thinking is fucked up, or it's weird, but it was part of that book. But I thought it was super cool that like Satori, that's what that is that moment in nature when everything, your mind just stops, you stop thinking, right? Or when you're staring into space. They were talking about that specifically.
Being in the present moment helps with that. Consciousness. Higher self.
And then last but not least, before we get out of here, it was saying the wider the gap between thought and perception, the more conscious you are. If your thoughts and perceptions are almost instantaneous, you're unconscious.
So if you're reactive.
Right. Like if you get cut off and freaking slam on the horn.
Right.
And you don't even think about it.
Nope. It's just automatic.
Now, maybe you slam on the horn, but your intention was safety. Mm-hmm. You're letting them know something.
That's different.
But it's like, fuck you. You know, that's different.
You're right.
That's a different intention.
Right. Yes.
And sometimes we have those intentions.
And it's okay. When you have those intentions, all you need to do is sit with it and forgive yourself and apologize if you said something you shouldn't have said, did something that you weren't supposed to do. It's apologizing and taking responsibility that will help you to disengage the ego.
Reset.
Yes, reset. And with that,
make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. Like I said before, the best thing you guys can do is share this with somebody else. Share a clip, follow us on all our social media.
All that good stuff. Thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your support. And thank you for watching Opposites Attract Podcast.
Where we get better
together.
Bye.
Bye.